students can learn strategies and thinking processes that are explicitly taught. To better equip students with the needed skills to move through the metacognitive process, they must also have a repertoire of strategies to draw from to help them move toward their desired outcomes.
I think that teachers should really be just kind of playing with different strategies with students, like not just using one strategy in class, so showing them how many different options there are while studying, so when kids have to do it themselves, they can think, oh, I have all these options, and they've had experience with each one, so they can choose which one they like best, and they can kind of find something that works for them, so when they go home to study or when they have to do something on their own, they don't feel forced, and they can kind of feel more relaxed and kind of feel like they're in charge and that they know what they're doing because they have a certain method that works for them best instead of just doing it one way. And so I think teachers should really definitely just try showing kids different ways of studying and learning.
If you have no strategies in your head, you don't really know what's working, right? You can just like take a couple of the ideas that she said and try a couple of them out, and whatever ones like work the best, use those.
For me, very honestly, I think it took a while because in school, I feel that some teachers are different than others. Some only use one way of teaching, which probably isn't the best, but other teachers like that I've had recently have definitely tried to push different ideas and try to take you out of your comfort zone and for you to try different things to see if that's what works for you. And for me, especially just this year, I really understood myself more as a learner because I was kind of pushed into other directions that I wouldn't have really tried before. So I think it's just kind of looking at something with a fresh eye and with an open mind. I think that helps a lot because you might be stuck on one way, and then if someone kind of shows you another way and you're open to it and you try it, you might like it even better, and that'll help you more. That's kind of what helped me.
Just basically learning from people that are better than me, and that helped me become an expert because I learned from people that are already experts.
For me, it was definitely just being exposed to different strategies because I felt that I wouldn't be the kind of person that would just go and start drawing a diagram. That wasn't really what I liked to do in the beginning.
One strategy that has helped in this process is the use of the Strategies Effectiveness Matrix, or the SEM. The process begins with the teacher explicitly teaching methods of using the strategy and modeling its use. In this video, Sandwich Secondary Science teacher Deanna provides students with opportunities to use the strategy and understand its components.
So what do you think about this strategy, Fishbone, for taking notes?
I don't like it.
You don't like it?
I don't know, it's kind of hard.
It's hard?
Just to organize it, that's what I find hard.
So would you rather if I organized all your information for you?
Yeah, kind of.
Right?
This was okay, doing this, but this is a bit harder.
This is the harder part?
Yeah.
Yeah. So hopefully by the end you have a series of topics. So if I asked you a question on the test, what's a sustainable ecosystem look like? You can already have 4 key points and then give me examples. So you could create a long answer with it once you have this. But if I asked you off the cuff and I didn't give you that structure, you might not remember it as much. So hopefully by the end that's the goal. And then you could be able to compare sustainable and unsustainable ecosystems. Now that you've completed a Fishbone organizer, you get a sense of how it can be a useful tool. And some of you gave me excellent reasons why it is a good tool to use for studying. And most of you mentioned that Fishbone diagrams are good for classifying information. So classifying and categorizing. Now, who can explain to me how do we use a Fishbone diagram? What parts do we need? So we need a head. So when you want to define maybe a concept, so you can break it into the components. It's a very good idea. And why should we use it? Why is this going to be a helpful tool, Hannah? Helps you study. Anybody else? Brandon?
When you don't understand it and you want to learn more about it,
helps you learn. So the process of making a fishbone actually makes you learn the information. That's a really good idea. Ben?
You see how everything relates to the big topic.
See how everything relates?
Students are asked to focus on the goal, reflect on their learning profile, and select strategies that will help them to become successful. Students are given the freedom to take risks by experimenting and abandoning strategies that are ineffective. Once students have had sufficient experience using effective strategies, they internalize them and are better equipped to select strategies to meet their needs and achieve their goals.
If you start working with one strategy and you're having a hard time, feel free to switch and move into a different one if you need to. Choose whichever one fits so that in the end your goal is that you understand that text. So choose what fits for you. Okay? Because your goal in the end is to understand. Your goal in the end isn't to have a beautiful chart on your page. Okay? Your goal in the end is to understand that text.
So then in the end, once you've equipped students with a number of different strategies and ways of going about making their learning clear to themselves, they can pull out whatever strategy works for them at the time and in the moment to best fit the situation.
When scaffolding is provided in using strategies and thinking structures, students become more adept at choosing appropriate pathways to their success. Students can become highly metacognitive. Once teachers have provided sufficient time, feedback, and multiple opportunities for students to practice, students begin to internalize their strategies. Eventually, their skill in implementing a variety of strategies paves the way for students to make informed choices about which strategies work for them. In this next example, Shelley asked students to work with a partner to record and question their thinking as they work to solve an algebra problem out loud. This strategy helps students to articulate their thinking processes and learn from the thinking of their peers.
What we're more focused on is how do you go about solving problems and how are you thinking as you're solving problems. So that's a lot of our focus. So in order to make that thinking a little bit more visible or a little bit more, instead of keeping it all inside our head, we're going to talk about our thinking a little bit more out loud. If you are a number one, I want you to write down these 3 questions. Problem solver doesn't need to write anything down. All they're doing is solving that problem out loud and they're telling that other person what to do. So I would say, okay, the first thing I want you to do, and maybe I'll say, okay, draw that first box, all 4 sides. Okay, the next thing, and I'm giving it to you step by step how I'm solving that problem. Okay, so if you're the problem solver, you're going to tell them step by step. And you know what, very honestly, you might start solving it one way and maybe it doesn't work and maybe it like this might not be something that you all of a sudden know what to do and you're going to have it solved and it'll be done in 3.5 minutes. Okay? You might start one way and you've got to kind of do a little bit of this before you actually get to the answer. So as the problem solver, you're going to say the step because.
If I was in the 50th term, I'd have 50 blocks, 1 to 20, right? And each block has 4.
You add 3 for each time, so the easiest way I think would be to write out the whole thing 50 times.
What I want to do is I kind of want to find out what the pattern is between like the 10th and the 20th, the 30th, and the 40th term. So we can just like draw a table from 1 to 20 and find out all those numbers.
How did you know where to start and how did you decide to start there? Or if you were the one who had to do it, would you have started in that spot? And if not, maybe where would you have started?
Students are encouraged to identify and share their strategies so that they can articulate their thinking and learn from their peers.
Well, I looked up at our chart and I wanted to kind of put like the different ideas how to solve it like together. So I like used a table and I solved a similar problem and I found a different another pattern.
What strategies could you borrow from somebody else? Or even we've heard people share. What strategies maybe you would not have used before, but now you might borrow from somebody else if you were asked a similar problem?
Scaffolds are provided to foster students' independence towards implementing strategies and monitoring, adapting and evaluating their progress so they might achieve success not only in the current task, but also in future challenges.
You have the same type of problem tomorrow. What have you learned today, or what is new about your thinking today that would help you? So you're kind of giving yourself a note that helps you remember what you learned today.
So Kara, I see that you chose to use the keywords strategy from our chart. Why did you choose that strategy?
Well, I chose that one because that way, like, if I just do a couple small words, like, it summarizes it, like, shortly. And if I just have, like, 1 or 2 words there, I'll remember about what I read from the book and, like, what I already know.
So if I were to ask you to do this again, would you use that same strategy or would you do something different next time?
I would use the same strategy, but instead, I did the keywords after I read the whole text. So instead of doing that, as I was going through the text, I would be writing down the key ideas instead of after.
Okay, good.
Teachers who have been exploring methods of fostering metacognition have found that it is useful to focus on explicitly teaching strategies and thinking habits that can be transferred to new situations. They have observed that this focused instruction has helped students become more proficient as they set goals and plan appropriate steps to move them towards achieving their outcomes.
The learning is not the end goal. It's not that at the end that's what you focus on. You're focusing along the way on the process that's happening and what learning happens all the way along the way. So what am I thinking and what am I learning as I'm going through the different steps of the activity.
Students experience success if they take ownership of their learning, have access to a wide range of learning strategies, and have the freedom to direct their own learning. Students who possess metacognitive habits of mind transfer their knowledge of the process and strategies to new contexts to support their learning and growth.
I recently just used it in science.
I was actually pretty surprised that I even liked mind maps because at the beginning I usually don't use graphic organizers. I usually just kind of used to look through my notes and just kind of memorize it or review it. That's how I used to study, and the first time we started with mind maps I didn't even really like it at the beginning, but I just kind of grew into it and kind of started trying to play with it, and then I found that I really liked it. I know that I'll be given a lot of information to kind of have to know, and I'll have to know it really well for things like exams and tests. So I think especially since there's so much information in each class, having something like a graphic organizer would really help me be able to keep on top of everything.
In the Greater Essex County District School Board, teachers have been exploring ways of promoting metacognitive habits of mind in students. Through this process, they have learned that students can know themselves as learners. They have also discovered that students must understand that they are able to develop their cognition by increasing their level of effort. Teachers also noticed that students benefited from being engaged in establishing targets and setting goals. In addition, the teachers observed that students become more metacognitive through reflection, dialogue with their peers, learning and trying new strategies, and receiving ongoing feedback and support.